If any father did this in real life, y'all would be calling him garbage.
Not know, I am a major fan of the Dragon Ball series.
Okay.
And as a fan of
That's
the series that
decent.
started to interact with others, it didn't take but maybe 5 minutes to realize that these people love Vegeta. Vegeta's
Who loves Vegeta? Losers love Vegeta. If you're watching this video and you're like, yo, I really like Vegeta, let me tell you something. You're a loser. Okay? You are a loser.
not only a character that makes up for some of the strongest moments in the series, but he is also a character that people tend to believe is the strongest template for what an anti-hero is. He's also credited with, or at least viewed as, the peak example of character development in Dragon Ball. Not to mention,
What? Who thinks that? Who?
bro, is really cool. Again, there's many reasons off the dome I can completely understand why people love the character of Vegeta. However, I don't think the right conversations about Vegeta are being had, and maybe never have been. And because the right conversations about Vegeta aren't being had, there's many people who believe the character is overrated entirely. Hell, there's parts of the character that I even think are overrated. But not only does overrated not necessarily mean bad, I also think that there's even more things about the character that are completely underrated. Everyone seems to always mention the iconic moments that Vegeta takes part in, but they don't really identify how we got there. And while trust and believe I'm far from the best person,
bro, it's very simple, all right? Frieza comes from a race he thinks everybody else is trash, okay? You know what I'm saying? Get these monkeys out of, matter of fact, get these monkeys out of my face, okay? Vegeta, the same, his people done put in some work, all right? Oh, we're the Saiyan bloodline. He basically part of the Aryan Brotherhood, okay? Let's call it what it is, okay? Thinks he's superior because of his bloodline, but he's not. He's a bum, okay?
in terms of character analysis, can't stress enough that I'm just a fan of the show, but I want to at least attempt to shed some light on the things that made great moments like the Final Atonement. Because not only do I not care about that moment if I don't care about the things that led up to it, but more importantly, I don't care about the moment if I don't care about the character. But luckily, not only do I believe that Vegeta is the most sympathetic character in the series, but I also think it was intended that way, and it was for the better.
Sympathetic? Pathetic might be the word. Sympathetic, definitely not.
Alright, so in my last video when I was talking about Goku, I actually skipped most of his childhood because we mainly talk about the character as an adult. But despite the fact that Kid Goku has way more screen time than Kid Vegeta could even wish for, I actually want to start this video talking about Kid Vegeta. Because as a child, Vegeta finds out over the phone essentially that his entire race, his entire bloodline is wiped from existence, and that the only Saiyans alive are pretty much the ones that he already knows of. This isn't necessarily the longest segment of the video because again, obviously we don't have too much of Kid Vegeta to go off of, and I don't even necessarily know if he's in the manga or not, so I know for a fact many of you don't believe the character exists. But no matter which way you've seen it, every time Vegeta gets the news that Vegeta is wiped out, he's not only a child, but he's also indifferent about it. I believe it's in Dragon Ball Z where Vegeta is just sitting there around a bunch of corpses, gets the news from some random Frieza warrior, and he literally says, "Oh really? I don't wish to reply," and just sits there in silence. The Super movie is probably the biggest interpretation of Vegeta kinda not caring, and even then I would say that's not the case because immediately after he says, "Oh man, I tried to be king," after like 2 more lines of dialogue, he just stands up and looks into the sky. I personally believe that he might have even had an idea that this was Cap all along right then and there, but if that's a reach, I know one thing's for certain. The seeds of what made this character as an adult were planted that day. And now that I think about it, you kind of feel sympathy for this character before that moment even. Because if you're watching this from a lens of a person that's already seen the series of Dragon Ball, you know Vegeta most likely, if not it's already confirmed, isn't exactly the biggest Frieza fan, or if anything, he's not cool with his
Yep, true.
race being enslaved by the guy. Knowing that he has to essentially plot in the shadows or just live a lie until adulthood is just tough. But speaking of his adulthood, now let's talk about—
all right, listen. I watched the Fantastic Four, and what we just did there is called the Mr. Fantastic. That was a reach. Now, he might clean it up. He might make me a believer. But living, what did he say?
Shadows or just live a lie until adulthood is just tough.
I don't know. I don't know about that one, Chief.
But speaking of his adulthood, now let's talk about the version of Vegeta that we've all come to know and love. Vegeta's first impression towards like 99% of the people that he ever interacts with, hell, even the viewers, is the fact that, excuse my language, but he's a dick. I mean, this guy goes to Earth not just to get the Dragon Balls, but then he wants to destroy the planet for a guy that he does not care about. In fact, he cares so little about the guy that when Nappa brings up, "Hey, do we want to get these to revive Raditz?" Vegeta damn near laughs it off and just says, "No, we should just become immortal." He then goes on to wipe Nappa from existence the first time we ever see him lose a fight. And once Goku refuses to be recruited by Vegeta, he tries to kill him. I know a lot of people think that Vegeta essentially was on Black Air Force energy or was the biggest menace during the Namek saga.
No.
But I don't believe that to be the case. I think he's easily the darkest in his first introduction to the series in the Saiyan saga.
Really?
Because when you compare that to the Vegeta nowadays, could you imagine him wanting to kill off every remaining Saiyan? No, not at all. In fact, if he had won the Tournament of Power himself, his initial goal was going to be to revive Universe 6 just so those Saiyans could still survive. I don't know if Zeno would have let that slide or let that qualify.
Yo, I was about to say something. I'm not even gonna say it. Should I? Nah, we're not gonna.
It's him reviving other universes, so he might have also been the reason they were
Panda was good.
forever extinct if he had won. But the premise is that he has so much pride in other Saiyans. When you go back to the Saiyan saga, this guy is so messed up. He's such a dark soul at this point in time. He doesn't even take pride in other Saiyans. He takes pride in his heritage and his background, but he doesn't even care about the other ones. And I think it's very telling that a hidden goalpost mover that not a lot of people talk about is Vegeta goes from wanting to be the only one to defeat Frieza to just wanting Frieza to be defeated by Saiyan hands. In fact, I'll go one step
because he's a loser, dog. Like what? It's like the people the NBA. Sage, you watch basketball, right? You know what I'm saying? You got your arch nemesis. You got this team versus that team, and they're both in the East. Oh, but really their target is who they're gonna meet in the finals in the West. So they're scrapping, you know what I'm saying, to the point where if they lose to the other team, they still want. Now they thought they was the best, but they wasn't.
further, and I promise
I don't think Vegeta get brownie points for that though.
you I'm not hot take hunting when I say this, but I would even argue that until he fights Goku, Vegeta doesn't necessarily care about being the Prince of all Saiyans, and his revenge against Frieza is simply due to how Frieza has affected his personal life. Now, yes, obviously, before you guys raise your pitchforks, that is clearly go hand in hand with Frieza wiping out his entire race. But I guess what I'm saying is it's very likely that things went from I have to avenge my race to I must defeat Frieza by any means possible. And if it wasn't obvious, I'm also not saying that he never had the idea of avenging his race. But I without a doubt believe that that pride got diminished or lost at some moment in time, and his fight against Goku definitely sparks it. It definitely would explain why he doesn't care about the death of Raditz, and would even go as far as to killing Nappa himself the second he's rendered useless. In fact, prior to this, he's cool with this low-class warrior named Kakarot defeating a Saiyan elite like Nappa, but the second that same exact low-class warrior starts pressing him, now he proceeds to talk about how he's a Saiyan.
He just seen Raditz as a way to say, I'm the king. Like, oh, you're just my stepping stool on my way to the mantelpiece of me saying I'm the greatest of these people. That's why he let Raditz get out the way. But then when he found out, oh, wow, there's somebody else in front of me blocking me from my goal, then he got angry. Come on now.
Saiyan elite, and this isn't supposed to happen. I don't think that the character was written to get the Saiyan pride power up, and now all of a sudden he cares about the next generation of Saiyans. He doesn't want to kill Goku and other things like that. But you could even see as the fight carries on that he's starting to talk about his Saiyan race and where he ranks among the Saiyans much more. That he's not just an elite warrior, that he's the prince in this low class.
That's because he never met anybody he thought he couldn't beat in the Saiyan race. He was, I could get past these people. He didn't start talking about his stat because he believed I was the greatest. That's what he believed. I'm the greatest Saiyan. So why would I ever bring it up? Till you find somebody who might actually exceed you. There's a term or a saying they say, like, those who can do, those who can't teach, right? And it's kind of applicable to this. He was doing, he thought he was a doer. Then he found out, dang, maybe I can't become the best. So let me talk about how I'm the get Vegeta out of here, bro.
Class Saiyan isn't
he ain't getting no sympathy from me.
About to upstart him, let alone that low-class Saiyan's son. Which, by the way, I'm not going to go into too much detail right now, but the dialogue between Vegeta and Gohan is consistently amazing. The fight between Goku and Vegeta is often seen as the nature versus nurture fight. However, I feel at times people act like this is a one-sided battle, that it was Vegeta's nature just pressuring the ideas that Goku lived by, the ways he was nurtured on planet Earth. And when you combine that with the fact that if Vegeta didn't get jumped, he easily wins the fight, people people give Nature, or in this case Vegeta, the advantage in this fight, saying that that side in this moment in time was the superior side. And sure, physically that may be the case, but psychologically it just isn't. And this is proven by the sheer fact that Vegeta doesn't even think he won the altercation. If Nature was truly without a doubt the superior side in this battle, Vegeta, the Prince of all Saiyans, would have been able to easily wipe the floor with everyone on Earth. But it wasn't the case. Everything Vegeta once lived by essentially just got debunked by Goku, so much so that he viewed
Okay. Sage is cooking right now. He's cooking.
that fight as an embarrassment. Last thing I want to address before we move on to Vegeta during the Namek saga, I do want to bring attention to the fact that while he's certainly an antagonist at this point in the series towards Goku, as the character himself, he kinda has a ton of anti-hero traits already. Sure, he's going about it in the worst way possible, but I mean, he is doing what he's doing for a noble cause. He is trying to stop a greater evil, and he does have legitimate reasons as for what he's doing. It's just unfortunate that what he's doing in the process is just straight up evil. And trust and believe, he is far from a good guy when he goes to Namek.
Hey, they say like all roads to evil were paved with good intentions or something like that. All right, Sage might be cooking up a little bit.
In comparison to the goals of Goku, Gohan, Krillin, etc., he's much more of an anti-hero because obviously the goals intertwine, but he's still kind of just a dick, I'm not gonna lie. But what the Namek arc does, unlike the Saiyan saga, is we see things more from Vegeta's perspective. For starters, before he even lands on Namek, we kinda learn why he's this way. Because Pui Pui, Kiwi, whatever his name is, the little purple dude, he just starts mocking Vegeta, even though he knows for a fact that him and Vegeta are damn near the exact same power level, out of pure confidence in what Frieza is going to do. And as the Namek saga goes on, whether it's through fear or just straight confidence and support, you start to realize that Vegeta's not only tormented by Frieza's existence and Frieza himself, but essentially his whole life he's surrounded by people who just love Frieza, boasting about him whether it's out of fear or they just truly like the guy. And if that isn't sad enough, as we see Vegeta take out Kui, take out Zarbon, take out Dodoria, we see how far he's had to come just to even fight some of Frieza's lackeys. We now understand why he hasn't made the move on Frieza earlier. He literally could not even fathom thinking that he had the chance. I definitely sympathize with Vegeta the most on Namek, as a lot of people probably do.
But it's like the delusion thing, all right? Now, we had a talk on one of the podcasts I was on, and we asked somebody, do they think they can beat Giannis in a basketball game? And they said, I don't care who it is, I always am going to say I'm the best. That right there, my friends, is called delusional. Okay? Delusional. That's what he was.
As well. Because while there's definitely parts in the Cell saga and the Buu saga that kind of make you feel bad for Vegeta, the character itself is easily its most desperate in the Namek saga. And if I named every single example, I would basically be retelling the Namek arc, so I'm not going to do that, but I will highlight a couple. Because there's situations like when Goku first
that girl
appears,
Candy was
where
good.
Vegeta, the Prince of all Saiyans, the proud warrior race, runs from a fight. Or hell, even 5 minutes ago would rather die in said fight just so Gohan has a chance to put down the enemy who is about to kill him in said fight. The man swam to the bottom of the ocean to hide from confrontation altogether. Granted, it was a brilliant idea, but still, that's definitely desperation. Not to bring up another example of the Ginyu fight, but I mean, damn, he asked Krillin to destroy the Dragon Ball. That would essentially GG his whole plan of being immortal and defeating Frieza. He was probably prepared to wait another 20, 30 years. He also asked Krillin to damn near kill him just so he can maybe be stronger than Frieza. He won't know how strong he'll be, but again, desperation. And then, of course, as we all remember, one of the most iconic scenes in Dragon Ball's history, Vegeta's cry to Goku, where he's desperate even in death. In the most straightforward way possible, Vegeta, after living his entire life scheming on how he would be the one to conquer Frieza and avenge the Saiyans, and even believing, or at this point pretty much knowing, that it would take the legendary power of becoming the Super Saiyan to do such a task, to see a low-class warrior like Kakarot essentially be the guy that not only defeated him in his eyes, but then he would become absurdly strong without spamming Zenkai boost and always embracing challenges even when he's heavily outclassed.
Yo, let me tell you something. I hope you stretched a lot before you did all this reaching. Yo.
For that same low-class Saiyan to essentially outwork Vegeta and become the legendary Super Saiyan, I'd argue at this point in time that's easily the biggest blow to his pride. Goku quite literally actualized everything Vegeta lived his life to do, and it was only a matter of time before Vegeta put it together. When Vegeta's first revived, he's actually
So you're telling me on Vegeta's road to getting the #1 headband, he stopped and said, you know what, Goku? You deserve the #1 headband. I'm going to take the #2 headband and live with the chip on my shoulder for the rest. No, that's not what happened. It's not.
still on Namek before
I guess you can try to read it that way. I mean, I guess.
being wished to Earth. And obviously in the moment, he's nothing but proud at the fact that there is one, a legendary Super Saiyan, but two, and more importantly, a Saiyan that's actually capable of defeating Frieza. But over time, you can tell this clearly affects Vegeta, whether you take the anime or the manga adaptation. In the anime, and granted, I like this depiction of it a lot more, but Vegeta actually just loses it looking for Goku, quite literally fights his kid, and even in the transformation, he literally just freaks the hell out. Bro almost quit fighting entirely, and even when you look at just the manga, I know for a fact some of you are gonna call a reaching foul on this, and while I wouldn't necessarily
Yo, it's like I call it before it happens every time. This is the second time this video.
Be mad, I think it's a damn good argument that the manga illustrates Vegeta essentially going through a crisis as well. It's not as clear cut at all, but when you really think about it, Vegeta being the strongest person on Earth at this point in time, outside of maybe one or two scenes initially, doesn't brag, doesn't talk to nobody, isn't bossing everyone around, he's just to himself training. While we've all come to know that that's often what Vegeta does now, back then the idea that Saiyan Saga Vegeta, let alone Namek Saga Vegeta, would be the strongest person on any planet, or even just one of the stronger ones on any planet, and not brag, boast, or bully anybody about it is insane. It's unheard of. Something has clearly changed within this character. My proof or evidence of this claim would be his Super Saiyan transformation. The literal second Vegeta turns into a Super Saiyan, he has the most devilish smirk on his face, gives us one of the greatest beatdowns in anime history, and immediately starts bossing around the remaining fighters and bullying the androids. And to support the idea that this—
Yo, no, this is like the kid who went to school, you know what I'm saying? You know, watched Dragon Ball Z, thought he was like, oh, I could do this at school. He gets clunked a couple times in the head, and oh my God, I'm getting bullied because I tried to go Super Saiyan. And then he grows up, becomes a certain job, starts to exert that power on other people, and starts bossing people around. That's Vegeta, all right?
This is a change in the character versus a one-time situation. Every time Vegeta loses a fight during the Cell Saga, he essentially gives up, because after being kicked off of that pedestal again, and considering the way that Goku is no longer in action, he has no evidence that he's really accomplished what he thought he has accomplished. He doesn't have any evidence that he's the top Saiyan when he loses to 18 while Goku's dealing with the heart virus. He has no evidence he's the top Saiyan when he loses to Perfect Cell while Goku is actively training in the time chamber.
And mind you, Cell, I'm gonna let you get to full power, and then we can get this man out of here, bro.
And then during the final fight, it's 100% confirmed that he's not even the second strongest Saiyan there, and he quite literally proclaims he will never fight again. Hell, before he loses against Cell, he was the cockiest he's ever been. Vegeta getting knocked off of this pedestal time and time again almost broke this character entirely. However, there was 2 or 3 more characters that would make a significant change in Vegeta's life, and this time, thankfully, it was for the better.
Hey, homeboy!
What? What?
Unwind a little and see what life has to offer
Yo, Bulma would change anybody's life.
you.
go
You're
ahead
actually kind of cute.
Now we introduce Trunks and Bulma to a character like Vegeta. Bulma being a competitive woman who, yes, is significantly and quite clearly weaker than Vegeta, but as we've learned from Dragon Ball and even early Dragon Ball Z, she does not care. She will challenge Vegeta consistently throughout the remainder of his life. And Trunks, a Saiyan prodigy who's also achieved the legendary power of the Great Super Saiyan transformation, who is later revealed to be his actual son. Excuse my language, but the idea of giving a character like Vegeta a family on Earth was the most brilliant shit Toriyama could have thought of in this situation. Outside of training, which Vegeta can quite literally do every day, granted, but he didn't